we promised you guys to have a candid talk on sexual and reproductive health rights, and that's why we have brought here an expert. Aweze tu kutuambia how we do these things, what is sexual and reproductive health and everything. And you're here, Maze. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
What do you have prepared for us?
Well, I think we are here to have a chat around sexual reproductive health and rights, and have a look at teenage pregnancy, the drivers, and what's our role, me and you and the community, and as well as the government to address the ever rising numbers of teenage pregnancies.
Okay, before we dig in, maybe we can just talk about the organization that you work for, and what are its mandates, before just to get into the serious talks.
Okay, well, first, my name is Andrew. I'm a final year student, and I work for Reproductive, a project called Respect. Respect is a respect with a K.
With a K,
with a K at the end. So it's a.
I think the K is for Kenya.
Yes, yes.
Genius. Genius.
Yeah, so it's a reproductive health and sexual health program for Kenyan teenagers. So it's a program designed specifically for the Kenyan teenagers, and we work with youth. So it's a group of about 200 young people who are dedicated their, the knowledge they have, to reaching out to young people in high schools, in primary school, and talking to them about sexual reproductive health and rights. And I think in the conversation we are going to separate, health and rights. We're also going to separate, sexual and reproductive, so that we want these young people to have the awareness, because you'll find when you look at the drivers of teenage pregnancies, there's something that is coming out. And the education is part of it. One is that we are seeing that the teenage pregnancy rates are higher among the communities where girls are not going to school compared to the girls who are going to school.
Oh, makes sense.
It's also there. We're also seeing that the numbers are also high among young teenagers who do not have information about sexual reproductive health compared to those ones who already have. And you see, earlier in the conversation, you alluded to something that some young people today are able to access information from their phones, from internet. But there are also communities where these young people are not able to access this information, and you can actually see the discrepancy in terms of the numbers of teenage pregnancy compared to where girls are able to access this information and where they are not able to. So we are coming in to plug this gap, and we have been in the existence right from 2016 up to now, and up to date we've been able to reach out to over 10,000 young people in school and being able to to empower them and to give them information. Let me tell you, actually, it's you'll be shocked. Sometimes when we adopt a school and we start doing visits to them, and the first time we go to the classroom, we ask them, tell us what you know about sexual reproductive health. You'll be shocked that some of things that we think, it's common knowledge or, it's obvious. This information that is not down there. And I think sometimes we tell them, write questions and ask us what what you'd like to know from us. And I know there's this school that we went to, and the girls were saying, something like, is it true that if you have sex while you're standing, you're not going to get pregnant?
Wait a minute.
Yeah? And for you, you'll be like, no, I mean, what's the difference between having sex when you're lying down, when you're standing? But you'll find also the number of teenage pregnancies are also as a result of gender-based violence, and most the numbers also showing that most as a result of crime, and in crime I mean rape, statutory rape. So it's someone at a higher level in terms of authority or age, or people these young people actually trust, like relatives, teachers, or even pastors sometimes. So these are the people that young people, the teenagers actually trust. And in the process, they take advantage of them. And this is a point where, you tell them, if you have sex with me while you're standing, you're not going to get pregnant. Or if you have sex with me and then you take cold water, cold shower, or you take cold water, you're not going to get pregnant. And I think that, again, contributes to the teenage pregnancy. And I think the other aspect of education is we might be doing the, strategies to tell them, how to practice safe sex, right? We encourage abstinence. Yeah. But we're also aware that there are those who will not practice abstinence. So can we also address them and tell them that there is also a way you can have safe sex? Yeah. And one way of having safe sex is to ensure that, you use protection, yeah? And then we go ahead and tell them, if you don't use protection, then you are at risk of becoming pregnant. Yeah. And so if then you get to that point, can we also give them information that you can actually use contraceptives to also prevent pregnancies? Because let me tell you, Emperor, that if you look at the socioeconomic impact and health impact of teenage pregnancy, they are very high. And even there's a cost and a burden to the government. Because you see, children born by the teen mothers, there's a difference between, the children born by ladies of age and when they are born. Mothers, yes. Yeah. So even they have poor pregnancy outcome, and that means like, things like preterm delivery, and even these children are even have low birth weights, they have, delayed in achieving milestone. But even the impact is higher on socioeconomic aspect of it, because it also perpetuates poverty. What happens to a young girl who gets pregnant and they drop out of school? Yeah. And they are coming, and you can actually see the high number of teenage pregnancy among teenagers who come from, low economic background.
From the ghetto.
Yeah. And from Shago. And sometimes, we get, we lose this when we talk about the numbers, and we're going to talk about the numbers, I think. But I will give you a story of a young girl in Kilifi. And let's give her name like Mercy.
Mercy, yeah.
Not her real name. And Mercy says that she got her first-born child at the age of 12. So at the age of 12, this girl gets pregnant. She comes from a family where the father has 5 wives and 32 children. Hey. And they're coming from a point where, from poverty, right? And so even getting basic health care, basic education was a problem. And now she gets pregnant, she drops out of school. Is she likely to go back to school? No, she's not likely to go back to school. She stays at home. As we speak, she has her 3rd child. At
what age?
Now I think she was speaking to the conference in Mombasa at the age of 18. And now she has the third child. And at some point, she actually got married, right? Yeah. And what you can see is that is likely to perpetuate a cycle of poverty. Yeah. So when you even look at the teenage pregnancy, it's no more about the numbers, but the life of these young children. We are condemning these young girls to a complete cycle of poverty. Because I would ask you, these 3 kids who are now joining the 32 kids of the father in the poverty, 35, are they also likely to get, good education, good health care? They're not. And the cycle is likely to happen. So there should be strategies and, policy in place, to integrate these children, to these teenage girls, even when they leave school. They drop out of school or they leave school to go and deliver once what next? They should be able to come back to school, because we have to cut this cycle of poverty at some point. And one way to do that is to ensure that these girls go back to school.
If I can just stop you, because we are having a very nice conversation here. I just wanted to know, according to you, is the government doing enough just to help curb this purge of teenage pregnancies?
Yeah, well, I would say it's doing something, but the question is, I think your question is it enough?
It's not. Or what more can be done?
Yes, it's not enough, because I think let's look at the drivers of teenage pregnancy. One is, we said it's lack of education. Yeah. So there should be a policy in place to ensure that every young girl, wherever they are, it doesn't matter where they are, they should be in school, right? The second thing is the sexual and gender-based violence. We are seeing that teenage pregnancy cases are as a result of rape, statutory rape and defilement. And let's even look at the difference between the two. Rape is when you have a consensual sexual intercourse with a person of the age above 18 years. So whenever anyone has sex with a girl below the age of 18, they're actually committing defilement. Yeah. So one way also to ensure that the perpetrators of this defilement have also been comprehended by the law.
And these are people that these kids trust. Like
these are the people they trust, yes. They are teachers, the religious teachers, and sometimes the relatives, actually, yeah. So it's not enough to also provide, care and also ensure this girl is going back to school. We also want to stop this from happening. So how do we do that? We need to apprehend these culprits and put them behind the bars. Then the other driver of teenage pregnancy is actually cultural practices like early marriages. When you go to some communities where girls, when they attain adolescence, they are still, now the community start looking at them as wives, as potential wives. And sometimes you even see older men and older men coming to talk to the parents about, to
make them their third and fifth wives.
Third and fifth wife. And we've just talked about mercy in Kilifi, and that is also the responsibility of government to ensure that those such practices are not perpetuated. Look at harmful sexual practices like FGM. What happens when a girl has undergone the FGM? She is now assumed to have come of age, and she is now ready for marriage. Yeah. So when you look at all these drivers of teenage pregnancy, including poverty, you'll also see, and let me give an example. When you go to talk to this young girl, they'll tell you that when they start getting their menstruation, they are required to have sanitary towels every month. Yeah. And this is a girl who comes from a family that they are not able to even put food on the table. So sanitary towels becomes a secondary need to them.
So it becomes a luxury.
A luxury. So how do they, keep? Because menstruation will still come, with or without food. It will come, right? So you find these ladies will also try to find ways of, getting these sanitary towels. And this is a point where, young men in the village, you start enticing them. I can buy you a pack of it if you become my girlfriend, right? And I don't want to pinpoint to any particular set of group of young men, but you'll see that the men, around their areas, they are the ones who are gonna make them their girlfriends in exchange for, sanitary towels. You can see actually poverty as a direct, driver of teenage pregnancy. And all these things also narrow down to the government, because it is the responsibility of government to ensure that everyone gets their basic needs catered for.
Now, if I may ask, these are most cases, the ones that you're talking about when you talk about poverty and everything.
Yes.
But there's this case of a child learning from the parents. I don't know if you've encountered such while doing your rounds. And how can we curb that?
So I think there is also the parental role, and sometimes I feel sometimes parents may have abdicated that duty to the teachers. You find our parents are not comfortable to even talk to us about sexual reproductive health, and sometimes even the messaging is wrong. There was a story that usually go around, this is not a true story, but it's a story that goes around that you're told that ukienda kucheza usionyeshe hawa wavulana your panty, that's how they tell you. That's the messaging, usionyeshe hawa vijana panty. Usicheze na vijana. And so the story
and I think they still call pregnancy kuvunjwa mguu.
Utavunjwa mguu, And then the story is this girl goes to play with these boys and anapanda mti. And the boys wako chini. So the mother comes and nilikwambia aje ukipanda juu wataona your panty. Anaambia mama hapana, mimi nilitoa nini? Before nipa? Because the messaging wrong. The messaging is wrong, because now we need to be as open as possible. Don't try to hide, kwa mafumbo na kuambia mtoto sijui.
No, watoto, they don't know about this
thing. Tell them why they should not be doing what, Stop telling them wasionyeshane utavunjwa miguu and such kind of stories. So also the messaging is so that it's multifactorial. One is that their parents who are not, comfortable talking to their kids about sexual reproductive health, right? And there are those ones who attempt, but the messaging is wrong.
And there are those who don't do it.
And there are those who have abdicated the duty completely to the teachers. And if you look at the kind of, we start learning about the reproductive health, I think, around class 6, right?
Yeah, in class 6.
And you'll find even some teachers also struggle to talk about some things. And this is a point you mentioned, that when a mother, when these two people have sex, the class, the kids will start laughing. And then wataanza kucheka, alafu mwalimu will stop from there, ataendelea. You find also,
and I think it's just the shyness in us as Africans.
Yes, yeah.
Even you can find a man who has come of age, maybe 32 or 33, finds it hard to just go to a chemist and ask for a packet of condoms.
Yes. Yeah. Actually,
I know guys who are very shy. They'd rather go to a hospital, wait when everyone has left, and then go and get this from the dispensers, than just walk to a chemist and tell them, okay, I need a packet.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we can just circumvent this. Just that shy culture.
Yeah. I think the one way is to destigmatize sex. Destigmatize sex to a point that we can openly talk about it. And you see, one step is that, KUTV hosting this conversation. We are comfortable, we are willing to talk about this thing.
We are very comfortable.
Yes, so that that this is the problem, so that next time you go to a shop, you'll not start buying funny things as you wait, the other customers to disappear before you ask for your pack of condoms.
Guys will be like, uko na Panadol? No condom. No, just be bold. Say you want to protect yourself. I want a packet.
You go and buy a packet. And you see, it even becomes very difficult in rural areas, where you have one shop in a big radius, and you'd find that the person who is having the shop is the shopkeeper is actually Mama Njoroge, who goes to church with your mom.
Okay.
So how do you then go to buy a pack of condoms from Mama Njoroge, who actually goes to? And
without her going to tell your mom, na huyo kijana.
That's the thing. And even goes to even accessing contraceptive. For example, if they have chemist and they have, contraceptive like P2. So there is no way that this Kayan girl who will go to Mama Njoroge's chemist also to buy this contraceptive, well, they know that Mama Njoroge go to church on Sunday with them.
I think the question here is, how do we introduce contraceptives to the youth? Without necessarily seeming like we are encouraging them to have sex. Because I remember there's a time the government was talking about rolling condoms that are favorable to young kids, 18 and below. And there was a lot of talk about around it, people saying now the government is encouraging our kids to indulge in sexual activity. So the question is, how do we introduce contraceptives to our kids without necessarily looking like we're encouraging them to go and have sex?
I think the problem has been we have always tried to hide behind, cultural and religious views. And that's the problem. And I think one way to look at it is to look at it from a problem point of view. Like, we have these numbers, right? So we are, by giving contraceptive, giving condoms, we are encouraging safe sex. At this point, we should acknowledge that young people are having sex.
With or without our consent.
Yes, it is that understanding. And I would ask you, Emperor, if I don't know if you have sex, I don't know whether you have.
I must tell you categorically that I must be sure if my mom is watching first before I tell you this. But one thing I'm sure is that I'm of age.
Yes.
And there are various urges here and there.
So the question.
So I think I've answered your question without really answering your question, right?
I'll try to figure out what you said. But the question now I'm asking, do you remember the first time you had sex? Did you consult your parents?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
You did. And that is why we should know that young people will have sex without consulting us.
Without even telling us.
Without telling us. So it's us to provide mechanism that should they get to that point, they will have safe sex. That's the whole point. That's the point we are trying to.
And I think that should be like our tagline for this conversation, because young people must have sex. but
or they are
having sex.
They're having sex.
Or at some point in their lives they will have sex.
Yes, and they will not consult you.
So before they get there, how have we prepared them for that moment?
Yes. How have we prepared them for that decisions? How have we prepared them that if they get to that point, they will make a safe and sound decision? And I will tell you, some of the kids are having, their sexual debut or their first sexual intercourse, even with people they are not supposed to have sex with. And let me tell you, the aspect of safe sex means that you're having sex with the right person at the right time in the right way.
That's safe sex.
That is safe sex. When you're having the right person, the right place, and the right way. It means that you having sex also with the right person. That's also an important aspect of it. And you can even come from a point of, both of them knowing their HIV status. And also we discourage cross-generational sex. And that's something we have seen, especially, among campus girls and...
Cross-generational, I think you can just explain
cross-generational sex.
For those people we've already lost.
Cross-generational sex is where you have a huge age. Exactly. It's what now we are calling...
Mubabas We've given it a fancy name so that you can be okay with it. Mubabas, that is cross-generational
sex.
Let's call it what it is.
There is a huge gap between the sexual partners. And remember, it's mubabas and mamas. We know also young boys are having sex with and the problem with that, the problem with that is a power play. There is a huge discrepancy in terms of power and even the decision. When mbabas and a young girl are having conversation, you cannot try to introduce the aspect of having safe sex.
In fact, they can just intimidate the young girl.
They will intimidate. Exactly.
And they'll just...
Ama, you want me to stop paying your rent?
They'll comply. I think at this point, before we get more into that, let's just talk about your organization, activities that you've been indulging in, and what are the future plans? I know you have a plan to start clubs in high schools to just teach them about sexual and reproductive health rights. I think we can just talk about that in a few as we come to the close of this conversation.
So I work for Project Respect, and as said, Project Respect stands for Reproductive Health and Programs for Kenyan Teenagers. And this is a group of young people up to 200, most of them in the university and pursuing health sciences. So there are people with a background knowledge of these matters, and we've been going to high school to talk to young people, and we work with our development partners and people who are supporting these efforts to take this information right to these young people in school. But the question has been, how do we ensure that there is sustainability in terms of, we cannot always be going to this high school. So is there a way we can have this information right in school given by their peers and their classmates? So we have established what we are calling respect clubs in high school. Then we teach and give materials to these young people
and
to
then
know.
They can teach each other.
Exactly. And then they teach each other. So that the time when we do around 3 visits per school. So by the time we are doing the 3rd visit, the conversation is no longer done by us. The conversation is actually being led by their fellow colleagues in school, and that will ensure sustainability. At the end of the day, we will have a point that every time young students are reporting to school, they have their peer counselors who are able to teach them. And it also provides a forum for, if a young girl, Amanda Funky, patana na Charlie, and they want to start a relationship, how can they have a safe and, healthy relationship so they know who to talk to? And I've told you that in sexual reproductive health, the difference in age, it's a big factor. So even a young girl in Form 2 talking to a teacher, talking to a teacher about the problems they're experiencing, it's very difficult. But when they're talking to a fellow student, it becomes very easy, and they're even able to tell them, I'm also going through a similar situation, and this is how you go around it. And this is what we have been trying to do.
I think there's someone here whose feedback that has just come in. He's saying, or I don't know if she's saying, someone here saying, how watoto wakae rada huku life ni ngumu aje, huku life ni ngumu nje, ama wasiposikia watapambana na hali yao. I think it's just a stern warning to any of these teenagers who think maybe this early childhood sexual activities are cool. You know, there's that notion that if you've not had sex by the time you leave high school, you're not safe. Before you think it's safe, you should know there are responsibilities that come with it and everything. If there's just one last thing you could say to any teenager who's watching you right now, what would it be?
Seek information. Seek information, and information is power. And I would even tell, you know, young people like me and you, let's also make it our responsibility to volunteer to give this information to young people. But at the end of the day, the solution to this is to inculcate or introduce a comprehensive sexual education in our school curriculum. It should be there. You should be taught. The way we go to school and we sit down and we learn about all other things, history, biology, geography, we should teach young people of comprehensive sexual education, age-appropriate comprehensive sexual education, so that by the time they are getting to the point of making that decision, they are making the decision from a point of they have with knowledge and information. And it should not be limited to any way. And you know, we talk about ABCs, abstain, be faithful, and use condom. It should go all the way to even using contraceptive, because at the end of the day, is that we know there are those who will not abstain. They will have sex. We want them to have safe sex, to use protection. We also know that there are those who will not do that. So if they get pregnant, if they are at risk of getting pregnant, what can they do? Introducing, you know, talking to them about emergency contraceptive. And if there are those who have you have a partner and you have sex regularly, then we move you from having emergency contraceptive to using regular methods of contraceptive. And there are so many of them that are safe to be used by young people. So I think this is information that all of us can volunteer and can be taken to the people who actually need the young people. But the solution will be to introduce this information in our curriculum, and it should be age appropriate and comprehensive. It should not cover only one part. It should cover the whole spectrum, so that when a young person finds themselves at any point in that spectrum, they know what to do.
Yeah, we told you guys we're going to have a candid talk, and we've talked about things that maybe most of you would not be comfortable talking about, but that's the culture we want to start. We talk about these things, and we just help our young people to navigate the way when they get themselves in these positions. There's also a conversation that needs to be had about age-appropriate people who are not young. We also need to be educated about contraceptives and taking care of themselves. I think we'll have that conversation sometime later. But for today, that's all from us. You can find this conversation on our YouTube later. If you have questions, of course, you can just get in touch with us, and then we'll make sure we give you the right information. Parting shot?
Yeah, they can always check us on Twitter at RespectKD, and or me at Githiria on Twitter. We are able to
RespectKD
at RespectKD.
Just spell
Respect at RESPEKT _KD Kenya, and Denmark. It's a partnership between Kenyans and Danish youth.
So it's KD, just KD.
KD.
Yeah. And yours?
Mine is at A_Githiria.
A_ for Andrew.
Yes.
Okay. A_Githiria. If you have any questions, you know where to ask them. He will always be there. Respect KD will always be there just to answer your questions. If you have a kid who has questions, you know where to find these guys. Let's talk about these things. Let us help the youth to avoid early childhood pregnancies. That's all from us.